In ecosystems, we like to talk about how energy flows. So energy always starts in the same place. Well, not always. Actually, let me be careful how I say this. Usually, well, not even usually, but quite frequently, energy starts on our planet from the sun. That is where it starts from. So photons are particles of light that help things like plants grow. But that's not always the first step. So we have what's called autotrophs. Autotrophs automatically make their own food. And in particular, plants are what we call I'm going to run a room. Photo, meaning photon. So light is made of particles of photons. That's what light is. So photo, auto, so automatically. Troph, so troph means like diet or to eat. So photo, auto, troph. That's what plants are. And I was being careful about mentioning the sun as the only place that energy starts because there are other options. So for example, other autotrophs include chemo, autotrophs. And you might have guessed it here by looking at that word. They don't get their energy from the... Okay. Go back. Go. Yep. That's what I wanted you to do. They don't get their energy from the sun. They get their energy from chemicals. Like, for example, there are these things called snotites that live inside caves. We call them snotites because they look like snot. They hang from stalactites, which are the spiky things in caves that drip from the ceiling. So we call them snotites, and they basically make their own food from chemicals found in the cave. So there are a lot of chemoautotrophs out there. So sunlight is not the only way to go. That's not the only place to start. But in this class, that's generally what we tell you. So autotrophs are also called, just another word for them is producers because they produce their own food, as opposed to consumers. So consumers, or like you and I, we can't photosynthesize. I mean, that would be pretty awesome. Could you imagine if you were just green? If you had chlorophyll and you could just go outside and like soak in the sun and be like, I'm full. That'd actually be kind of weird. Like, could you imagine if like you got overweight? How would you go on a diet? Would you just like have an umbrella with you all the time? Yeah. These are things I think about. Anyway, so consumers. Another word for consumer, as opposed to autotroph, is heterotroph. So hetero means different, like you've heard the term heterosexual. Basically means that you prefer someone of a different gender to you. So hetero means different. So when we say heterotroph, we're saying it eats other living things, a different living thing. So that's autotrophs and heterotrophs. Now there are different types of heterotrophs. So heterotroph is the broad term, and then these are specific terms. These are both autotrophs. There is the primary consumer and the secondary consumer. They are both consumers. They are both heterotrophs. The primary consumer is herbivores. They eat plants, green stuff. And then the secondary consumers are carnivores, which eat them. And then, of course, you're asking yourself, well, what about omnivores? Omnivores are secondary. They just happen to eat both. Okay, so then energy flows from producer to consumer. So if we were to think about energy flow, it all, of course, starts with the sun here, because these are photoautotrophs and not chemo. And then that energy gets trapped in the leaves, the sunlight. The sunlight is literally, the leaves have trapped it. And then that sunlight energy transfers to The bunny rabbit goes in its stomach, it's stored in its fat, and then the coyote eats it. And now that sunlight energy that was trapped in the grass and then trapped in the rabbit is now in the coyote. Transfer of energy. We learn in science that energy cannot be created, nor can it be destroyed. The rabbit has not created its own mass or energy. It just transferred it, originally all from the sun. Okay, there you go.